Hey, welcome back to High Performance Health and Wellness Coaching. I'm Coach Corey. Happy Friday, everybody. And you know what that means? It is F Sugar Friday! Hey, I know the four of you watching this, I know you guys did it. It's addictive, man. I'm just putting it out there. Okay, guys, I'm going to go right to it. I'm going to read out of an article from February 23rd, 2017 from, let me fix this here. Wow, I think my little homies back here. Ava left those there to, hey, what's up, little homies? I didn't notice them until just now. That's funny. February 23rd, 2017, Government Can't Get Us Off Sugar by Glenn Reynolds. Pretty interesting article. Touches a lot of things I'm curious about, and I wonder why we aren't going the way of tobacco and alcohol and try to regulate some of this sugar. And now that science is there and yada, yada, yada. I talk about it all the time. But here you go. It's interesting, right? Should food stamp programs allow people to buy sugary drinks and snacks with taxpayers' money? It's a good question, right? I know when I worked at Coca-Cola years ago in California, I would sit there. I made my money on neighborhoods that weren't the best part of towns. A lot of them were on assistance, I'm sure, and they would go in there and spend it on sodas and smokes and everything else. And this is back in the day when it really wasn't as regulated. Now it's probably, they cracked down a little bit more, but it was there, right? So, which kind of made this article interesting because I witnessed it firsthand. That's a question a lot of people are debating, but it raises more questions of its own. Let's see here. There seems to be a little remaining doubt that sugar is bad for you. I've been reading Gary Taubes' new book, The Case Against Sugar, and he draws a compelling connection between the spread of sugary foods and drinks and the explosive growth of disease like diabetes and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. As Taubes notes, when sugar and sugar-rich products spread around the globe, so did diabetes. And on those very rare occasions when sugar consumption declined, as it did, for instance, in World War I, because of the government's rationings and sugar shortages, diabetes mortality invariably declined with it. So it's, come on, man, it's proven, right? So let's see. As sugar consumption skyrocketed in the United States during the late 19th and early 20th century, diabetes went from a disease so rare that major hospitals often went whole years without seeing a case to a disease so frequent that doctors wondered what was going on. Right? How did we not put this together? Let's see. Many concluded that there was this relationship between sugar intake and diabetes. As late as 1974, he reports, when the sugar industry surveyed physicians, most thought that excessive sugar intake was a cause of diabetes. 1974. Here we are, man. We're just still cranking it away. But by the late 1970s, with assistance from the sugar industry lobbyists and subsidized scientists at the Harvard School of Public Health, about which Taubes has much unflattering history, dietary fat had become the chief nutritional villain, and the government nutritional guidelines changed to reflect the storyline. So what he's saying is a lobbyist, and there's a report that came out that a handful of scientists at Harvard were paid $50,000, I believe it was $50,000, by the lobbyists to sway in favor of the sugar, right? It could be that, or I'll also listen to other scientists talk about, it could be that those scientists that were in Harvard were just so set on their theory that they were easily just to kind of go with it because they didn't want to be wrong. And that's the problem with science. Science, obviously, the goal is to, prove yourself wrong. So they didn't want to, and here we are. So the guidelines were set, right? Let's see. Though the evidence for sugar's destructive role was stronger, fat became thing to avoid, and by the 1980s, many products were formulated to be low-fat, fat-free. To increase the flavor in the absence of fat, food processors added more sugar, and Americans got fatter and more diabetes prone, right? So, let's see. I'm gonna just go through some of this stuff. It just goes. It's pretty interesting, right? The Case Against Sugar is a fantastic book, right? So if the government doesn't want to pay for sodas and cookies with food stamp dollars, that's fine with me. Taxpayers' money should go for essentials, and there's nothing essential about moon pie washed down with RC cold, despite the combo's popularity in my part of the world. That was a quote by Taubes. So anyway, it's then here it goes. But what do you do, right? On the one hand, many would like the government to get involved with new regulation, but as Taub's history of government nutritional recommendations demonstrates, government involvement is part of the problem. Government policies promoting sugar is no small part and got us into this mess. Without the government's recommendations to avoid dietary fat led to increased sugar consumption, many Americans would probably be thinner or at least less obese than they are now. So, there's a lot of good stuff here, right, guys? Just look it up and read it. I just kind of went over a couple little paragraphs of this thing. So it's a vicious cycle, right? So, should the government get involved in regulating sugar like we do cigarettes? I vote that at least it needs to be acknowledged and we need to educate, right? So what I would like to do, and one day I will, hopefully this year, is to present to the school board in my local district here, because this is how it gets done with us now, is locally. I'm not saying go and revamp the entire school menu, because that's a big needle to move. I'm saying let's just start with just some simple education, some simple facts, some science that's out. Let's talk about the harms and the addictions of sugar, just like we did with the war on drugs when I was a kid. They talked about it, and we don't have those things anymore in schools. Like, we just need to really kind of make kids aware of what they're walking into, and maybe offer some things at school lunch would be fantastic, some better options. But let's just hang some literature up, and let's just give them the choice, right? That's what it's about. So it's got to start somewhere. So if we could just do it on a local level where enough parents, enough family, enough people care about, because that's where it comes down to, right? It comes down to us as citizens, taxpayer dollars. We stop spending our money on these things. That's the loudest voice that we have, is what's in our wallet. So we stop buying the foods that are creating these issues and the sugary stuff. We stop supporting the companies, and then we get together and we talk to the schools and we talk to the teachers and we talk to just, hey, let's work together. There's an issue here. There's enough going on. There's enough science. There's enough out there to say there is a problem with sugar. Let's try to educate people on it, right? That's all it is. It's all we need to do, right? It's all we need to say. So anyway, that's my F Sugar Friday thing, right? How involved should the government get? Should we, have them regulate it like cigarettes? To me, I can't stand it. I would love to see that happen, but that's kind of extreme. So what do I do on my level? I take care of my family first, my kids, my wife, take care of them, teach them, and let's expand out, right? Community, neighbors, further out, school. Let's go ahead. Let's get the word out, and maybe something to stick later on. I'm not saying you're changing lives. I'm not saying that you're sitting there trying to heal everybody out the addictions of sugar. I'm just saying that something's going to click. Like, let's say back in the day, the war on drugs, and I remember their officers coming into the classroom, and this is what happens, and showing you some pictures of some meth heads, and their teeth are rotten out, and they're jacked up, or how about the dramatic drunk driving car that smashed into school, and they're talking about the carnage of that, and people died, like a family have died in this car for drinking and driving. Well, guess what? When I was want to go puff on that, I really probably didn't do it. I didn't get involved in drugs. I didn't go into that stuff. Drinking, not much either, right? But that kind of stood out to you. Like, it was kind of shocking. Oh my gosh, I don't want to have a drunk driving accident, right? They do it with texting, seat belts. You ever go to like one of those they do it with these little fair things where you get in the golf cart and you put the goggles on and they make you feel like you're intoxicated, so you kind of weave through these cones and stuff. So they have this stuff out there for people to kind of understand, and they're teaching that. So why not do it about sugar, right? It's the same. It's a huge problem. It's probably bigger than all the other ones combined, and it's going to be worse as time goes on if we don't address it. So anyway, that's my rant. F you, sugar. That's all I gotta say. F Sugar Friday. Come on, guys, get on board. Let's do it. It takes everybody. Let's just get on that thing, right? Okay, you guys, please subscribe if you like what you hear. If you don't like what you hear, subscribe anyway. Share it. Let's get the word out. And let's talk about it. And I will see you guys later this weekend. Have a good one.